All right, everyone. So one of you was supposed to present today, but the student who had signed up dropped out of class. So I'm going to just offer a quick run-of-the-mill of today's readings and ask a few questions. So before doing that, I just want to introduce you to the perspective of race and post-colonial studies, and in particular to the key figure of Frantz Fanon, who's a really key scholar in this field. And Fanon argues that the opposition between black race and the white race is not a natural division based or a biological division based on skin color, but a cultural construction. And that is rooted in history. In particular, white colonizers, historically speaking, have denied black slaves their humanity by seeing them as animals, tools, or machines that merely perform labor for them. And this is very evident in the color adjustment in the documentary. If we think about the TV series Roots, and in particular, the scene in which the white master sells the daughter of one of the slaves. Now, Fanon argues that this lack of recognition implies that blacks cannot structure their subjectivity through the gaze of the other. This is the notion of symbolic identification, as discussed by Jacques Lacan, that we will be going into, especially next week. And this is why, because they are denied their subjectivity and their humanity, they fantasize to become like their white masters. They imagine to identify themselves with their owners rather than being able to see themselves as different from their owners. Fanon therefore concludes, and this is the beginning of the 60s book, The Wretch of the Earth, that the only way for blacks to shed domination, the white domination, is through violent revolt. Now, Herman Gray, whose text we've been reading and is also interviewed several times in the documentary, as we have seen, divides the TV shows from the 1950s through the late 80s in three different categories. The assimilationist perspective, which he calls the discourse of invisibility, which produces black subjects, and that these subjects whose blackness is denied, and this is obviously inspired by Fanon's reflections. And the assimilationist perspective is not the one of Amos and Andy. Those shows, if we had to categorize them, we would categorize them as explicitly racist. Rather, shows like Julia and the Nat King Cole show are the ones that are included in this perspective. Then he introduces the notion of the pluralist perspective, which he defines as separate but equal, which produces a homogeneous, he says, universal black subject, which appears, for example, in the Cosby Show. That is, anyone wants to become, for example, like Bill Cosby or the Cosby family. So these families belong in worlds that they are their own worlds. They are no longer white Negroes, but at the same time, they are exactly identical to white middle-class families. And then he talks about the third perspective, which is the most desirable in his opinion, which he calls the multiculturalist perspective, or the discourse of difference, which produces, he says, multiple black subjects whose diversity is recognized not only in relation to a white gaze, but for itself, right? And I think the main example that is shown in the final part of the documentary is Frank's place, and in particular that scene in which blacks discuss the different tones of the skin color, like Creole versus lower C Creole versus capital C Creole, in which you can see this internal differentiation of the black community. So finally, I want you to invite you to think about the final part of the readings in the Stuart Hall, in which he asks the question of what to do about stereotypes. Should we just accept them as a fact of nature, or rather as a fact of culture, or can we do something to change stereotypization? And for example, should stereotypes be fought by introducing positive images of minority groups? And if that is the case, what constitutes a positive image? This is also asked in the documentary. For example, was Julia a positive image of blacks in the context of 1960s television? Or should stereotypes be reversed by appropriating them? This is a strategy that a number of minority groups have pursued back in the 1970s, for example, but also later on. For example, if the word fag is an insult, then I appropriate the term and in a certain sense turn it against itself. I'm a fag, right? And I'm proud of it. Or perhaps the stereotypes can be reversed by aestheticizing them. In the whole reading, you can see references to the black exploitation movies of the 1970s, the Black is Beautiful slogan, but also Robert Mapplethorpe photographs. So I'm asking you this question. You can reflect about those questions, not just from the point of view of the relationships between the black community and the white community, but also and especially from the point of view of your own communities and of your own experiences. Thank you very much.